Hello and welcome to the Strategic Bookkeeper podcast. In today's episode, we are diving into the Dext software suite. The Dext software suite, so we use a Dext Prepare and Dext Precision. They are definitely some of my secrets to success. They are how I have built and maintained a highly profitable practice, and you can read about them in my book as well. One of the reasons I'm excited about this episode today is I'm interviewing the CEO, Sabby Gill, and we caught up recently and we had a really nice chat over the Zoom. He was in Melbourne for one of the accounting conferences, but I wasn't getting down there. So we jumped on the Zoom and we had a really lovely, open, authentic chat. And we totally vibed. And what I noticed about Sabby is he listens and he cares. Yeah. So there wasn't anything that I couldn't tell him about the product, about our experience, that he didn't just listen. Yeah. And I guess like me, I could tell that when it comes to feedback, it's absolutely his love language. And he talks about this today. So I guess what I came to see is, like I said a second ago, he really cares. And that is so critically important to me because I absolutely am on a mission to change the bookkeeping industry for the better globally. I'm on a mission to support bookkeepers who tend to be, on the whole, the majority of them worldwide, are busy multitasking mums. Yeah. Also dads, but about 90% of us busy multitasking mums. And it is my mission, my purpose, my dharma to support these women who are just like me. And I could see that Sabby personally, through the Dext product, was on that mission with me as well, but also that he was prepared to listen and work with me to elevate that. Okay. And so in today's episode, what I want you to get out of it, I want you to understand how and why of the Dext product in your practice. Okay. So you're going to hear about how it helped us in our practice. You're going to hear about product updates, which when Sabby told me recently, I was jaw on the floor excited. Okay. And I'm looking at my little notes here because I want to make sure that I've shared everything that I want to share with you in the intro. I'm going to apologize for any construction noise that you might hear. I don't think you'll hear any, but if you do, apologies for that. So I think that's a wrap on my intro. So without further ado, let's jump into the podcast. I'm Jeannie Savage, the Strategic Bookkeeper. I've been in practice for 14 years, but more importantly, 5 years in, I achieved a lifestyle practice. This means I scaled my business, could take my hands off the wheel, and draw a nice six-figure income while being time rich. And that's what I call my dream on my terms. I was recently awarded Women in Finance Innovator of the Year, recognizing my book, my podcast, my program, and my impact globally. The Strategic Bookkeeper is my life's work, and the opportunity to help bookkeepers globally achieve the income and lifestyle that sets them free absolutely fills my cup. Please do connect with me on socials at the Strategic Bookkeepers Way private Facebook group, or shoot me an email, hello@thestrategicbookkeeper.global. Welcome, Sabby, to the podcast.
Great, Jeannie. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get cracking. I'm going to get a little pen and paper out here because I love to take notes and not have everyone tortured by my tap, tap, tap. So, because I always learn myself when I do podcasts with guests, which is just amazing. So absolutely today, as you know, I love to think about exactly the kind of value, the kind of impact that I want for my audience. And as usual, I'm a mix of few organized, structured notes and then authentic sharing. And the first thing that I would love to hear about, because I think it's going to be great for our audience, is just a bit, in your own words, a bit about Dext.
Yeah, historically, we're an organization that's been around for 10 years, a little bit longer. And Jeannie, you probably know us better than anybody else. You were one of you were our very first customer in Australia, which is how we met. And look, Dext is a product-led growth company. It very much is focused on the efficiency and effectiveness of accountants and bookkeepers, more so than anything else, and really trying to drive their efficiency and effectiveness around how they engage and interact with small businesses. So we have three main products. We have a product called Prepare, Precision, and Commerce. So Prepare is fundamentally the core of our product offering. It's what I would refer to as the bookkeeper's best friend. It's got a universal interface for accountants, bookkeepers, and businesses. And the overall idea of the Prepare app product is to really account businesses that collect, extract, categorize invoices, expenses, bank data with their clients, either through the use of a desktop or mobile app or any different form of collecting data, similar to an OCR type tool. But that's our core fundamental. It's what we've been known for. People may know us as formerly known as Receipt Bank, but we are very much Dext Prepare. We then have Precision. Precision is all about building trust across an accountant's portfolio of organizations, very much again focused around accountants, but also available for bookkeepers. And it's really about staying compliant, consistent, trying to make sure you don't miss deadlines, giving you health scores about the nature and the health of a business. An accountant has so many clients, and it's almost like, what jobs do I need to get done in order to hit all of the deadlines for all of my clients? And that's what Precision does, right? It takes all of that information, puts it into one place with all the appropriate workflows. And it's almost like, when I come in the morning, what do I need to do, right? And that's very much what Precision is about. And then the final product is our Commerce product, which is really about connecting and reconciling all the various digital platforms. So whether you're on Shopify, you're on Etsy or eBay or Amazon, it's just another tool for any business that you may have out there that is buying and selling online, having the ability to capture and collect, because that data ultimately still needs to go back to your general ledger, but making that as seamless as possible is basically what we do. So those are the three core products. We've been around for, as I said, a number of years. Just to give you some context of what 23 was like, we processed 309 million transactions, 97% accuracy. Just in 2023, we added 90 terabytes of new data, right, relating to those 309 million transactions. We've had over 4 billion requests for information, for data, for transactional information. All of those transactions, and this is really about the power of AI, and everybody talks about AI, but we've probably been doing AI a lot longer than anybody else. It's basically what we refer to as applied AI. 72% of all of those transactions were fully automated, right? Invoice automation, item automation, 95.5% field validation and field automation. So all of that information and data is extracted. And 43% what we refer to as page automation. That basically means that all of the individuals and bank statement extraction and all of those were fully automated. That's what makes us really unique. Nobody does it to the extent that we do, the volumes that we do. And it's when I wake up every morning, the only thing I think about are those three particular products, right? We're not like a multifaceted 300 product company. We have three main products, right? And it's primarily serving all the accountants and bookkeepers to drive their, as I mentioned, driving efficiency.
And efficiency is an interesting word, and 100%. So as you said, when I found out I was the original customer in Australia, that was really funny. But it was beautiful too, because it's a part of my brand story and my brand story with Dext. And my partner actually asked me the other day, what is your favorite piece of software? Like, you're a total software nerd, personal, professional. And I said, Dext Prepare, formerly known as Receipt Bank. And he said, no, it's not. You're the original customer and that's your favorite piece of software. And he gets very excited like me. Yeah, look, in terms of Dext Prepare, in my opinion, and actually in the opinion of most bookkeepers that I hear in Australia, there is no comparing the Dext Prepare product to anything on the market. And we all know that because we do compare it, And it's actually interesting because with Dext Prepare, and I want to come back to this word efficiency, the things that you said, like the way that it works from the beginning to the end. So the way that the app works across the iPhone and all the other technologies. I mean, I use it as a user, like I act like a client. So I'm at the service station getting petrol, using it just like, the everyday person. And I'm always interested too, when I'm in there using it like a client, which I think for me and my businesses, my practice and my other business, I always operate in two roles. I can put the bookkeeper hat on, but most of the time I actually wear the client hat, never do my bookkeeping. So I love that I could be in the prepare software on my app, remembering that if I want to actually, as the client, code something, so like you say, communicate with my bookkeeper that this is actually for this particular category, I can, or I can just be snapping and going. But in terms of efficiency, so Dext Prepare is compulsory for every client we bring on, and we never get any pushback because we want to work with clients that follow the systems we give them so we can help them see bunnies and rainbows, as I say. If they want to do it their way, they're going to have a hard time. Well, we won't work with them. But it saves us so much time, so much money, but also as strategic bookkeepers, we're all about up-to-date, accurate accrual data, right? In order to be able to get the kind of numbers that we can use to help business owners optimize their profit, their cash, their time well. And up-to-date, accurate accrual data, which Dex gives us, is the only way that you can do that. And I've done speaker spots before where I've said, the accountants out there that are still cash coding and we're doing this stuff where we don't get the proper accrual data, it's just kind of bullshit. It's bullshit data, but you're going to reduce your keystrokes. And you can read a lot about this in our book. But precision to me, Sabby, when we picked it up and then, we use it even better now than we ever did, it became a virtual manager. It became a practice manager. It massively reduced our keystrokes, and therefore we were able to reduce a team of 8 to a team of 3 by natural attrition. When somebody left, my right hand was like, actually, we don't need to replace them. And for me, not having to manage so many people, and then we were able to manage better as well. You've got to sometimes performance manage, and this actually happened to us. So we're dealing with a lovely staff member, but he was just doing the wrong thing. Sometimes people do the wrong thing, but we were implementing precision at the same time. And what he was telling us wasn't really adding up. But we didn't have enough visibility over, because you have the checklists and the workflows, and we have Zero Practice Manager. But when we brought precision in and the workflows went into precision, we literally could see that he hadn't done it. And we were able to call him out and let him go. And then also in terms of the files, the more files you get, and I was telling Claire Beckett this recently on a podcast, I said to her, when you get more and more files, and at the moment you're trying to stay over the health of that file, but there's a point where you wake up in the night about this stuff. And I got to that point, and Dext Precision allowed me to go back to sleep at night. But the reduction in keystrokes, I'm not sure what is my favorite thing. I think it's being able to sleep at night and then the reduction in keystrokes.
But it is amazing, Jeannie, right? I've been involved in multiple engagements with accountants, bookkeepers, and I always remember the story of when we were in an engagement and we had all of the partners in a room. We were talking about, they're already prepared users, and a couple of them had worked with precision previously. But in that discussion, we had a couple of individuals, who were slightly more mature, right, who'd been around for a long time, probably weren't au fait with technology as much as they were, the younger generation and those sort of individuals. And I always remember the conversation when, we were talking about precision, and one of the head partners sort of turned around and said, well, actually, why don't you just show us, right? And it's like, okay. And by the way, we connected to your Zero instance. So we were very quickly, straight away, able to put precision in, connect to their Zero instance, and highlight straight away within the space of about 5 minutes 3 particular accounts that this individual who was sort of opposed to technology, we were able to turn around and identify 3 accounts that should have already been closed 2 weeks ago, where we found transactions that were open. And it was quite extraordinary to see the face of the individual to turn around and say, when the head partner sort of looked over and said, so you telling me that this counts in order, we've processed it and everything else, but it's identifying these 5 or 6 transactions that weren't processed, and this one's valid, and you've got some duplicates here and everything else. And he went out of the room, came back, and, bit slightly red-faced, and turned around and said, this is absolutely right. My team missed it. I missed that. And then literally there on the spot, they bought the product, right? Because those 3 accounts were some strategic accounts that they had now had to go back to the client and say, actually, we missed a couple of transactions. So absolutely, it is about, how well can you sleep at night when somebody else like Dex and Precision and Prepare are sort of running in the background, right? Constantly 24/7, highlighting all of the things that it thinks and believes that are out of kilter. And the latest version, actually, you might remember in Precision, we had health scores that sort of came up and told you how well you're doing. We've now made those customizable. So if you want to then turn around and say, well, actually, this particular component for this particular client is actually more important to me, and show it more as a potential risk. Therefore, I'd like to elevate that in the health score. You can do that now as well.
I like that, because for us, it's always definitely in Australia that payroll clearing account. We do just say manual health scoring. It's something I've done as a sales process, because I know that, as bookkeepers, we're detail and data, and sometimes we like written stuff, but entrepreneurs, they like things to be visual, right? And they like scores. And so often I would say, right, I've looked at your file on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, we're in real trouble. But as soon as their payroll was out, it went from whether it was a 1, it was like a 9, because, payroll is that Pandora's box. So I love, love, love that. So as we go through the podcast, if there is anything, any of the bookkeepers, if there are questions that I don't answer, please know that you can actually go into our private Facebook group, the Strategic Bookkeepers Way, and literally ask us questions. You can message us, you can ask the tribe. Yeah. In my program, everybody is either using both Prepare and Precision. And actually, when you talked about commerce, I was thinking of Erin, I was speaking to the other day, because these high volume, like you talk about, but they're either using them or they're asking me how they can get into using them. So it's just finding the right time to implement. And everyone loves Prepare, but I'd have to say Precision, when the bookkeepers bring that in, they get in the group and they're like, oh my goodness, like what has happened? And it's really, really cool. And then we have Joe McMahon heads up systems team and Strategic Bookkeepers Numbers Mastery kind of advisory stuff. So it's wonderful, because I was dealing with my cohort like newbies, and one of them said, I really need to implement systems and team. And we're able to say, okay, with Precision and Prepare and all the things, then they've got a person on our team that actually nurtures them through for a year, which is amazing. And I know that HQ at Dext also implement our workflows into Precision for our bookkeepers, which we're really, really grateful for as well. And so, Sabby, the next thing that that I really want you to share is, so Prepare, Precision, Commerce, they're all amazing, phenomenal. But when you told me what's coming, my jaw was open for a while. So I would love for you to share. We've heard about Dex now. What's on the horizon for the Dex products?
Probably the most exciting change that's really around transition from offering multiple products to one unified platform, right? Really positioning Dext as the go-to solution when you think about accountants, bookkeepers, and businesses, and really continue for us to continue to invest in our applied AI and enhance our overall core to really become indispensable, right, for businesses, for accountants and bookkeepers. So it's all about how do we bring all of these different components together. So if you imagine with Prepare being our core product, if you're in Prepare and you've got clients, but not necessarily who have decisions, all of a sudden want a health score. So sometimes it's like, well, you can only have a health score if you're connected to Xero or QuickBooks or any other GL. We know that sometimes accountants have clients that they look after that aren't connected to a GL. So now one of the things that we've done is to be able to give you a health score for every single client across your entire business, regardless of whether or not they're connected or not connected to a GL, right? So that's one key component. But bringing the 3 together and having one platform that you log on to that then allows you to be able to see all your clients, see all the health scores, connected or not connected. All of a sudden, the system will then recognize transactions as it comes through to be able to turn around and tell you whether or not there's a commerce opportunity. So sometimes, anybody within the software industry or as a user, you don't necessarily know, do I need this piece of software or can I get away without it? Now what we're doing, we're basically saying, look, we found a scenario based on the information, using predictive analytics, looking at predictive information based on the information that you're already sending us, to be able to turn around and say, actually, we think there's an opportunity for you to save even more time, be more effective, because we found transactions in this particular client that relates to a commerce transaction. We think this is an opportunity for you.
Yes,
So
I was
that,
excited about that. Yeah.
yeah. So it makes such a big difference. And then on top of all of that, right, we have got significant things coming down, right, from a product roadmap perspective. So some of the things that we were asked for, and a lot of your Prepare users will know about this. The mobile, we've now got the ability to upload PDFs, right? So if you think about it today, when you upload a document transaction, you take a picture of something, in the bottom left-hand corner, you get that little, almost like that file. What do I want to do with this particular document? Now you will see Dext Prepare there to allow you to be able to take a picture of a snapshot, come in from anywhere, even if you weren't in the app. So this is a great way of now being able to just take transactions. Now all of a sudden you have the ability to upload automatically into Dext Prepare. We used to have page limits. We've taken all the page limits away. Page limits now are up to 200 documents to be able to be submitted. One of the other big requests that we had was around email trails. We always have a lot of transactions that get thrown into a bookkeeper from a client that then has this trail of information that says, please see attached invoice. This relates to X, Y, and Z. But you only ever have the document. Now what we've done is we will show you the original email trail with all of the context that are related to it. So anytime you see a document, you'll now have the ability to do email trail. There's a lot of things around two-factor authentication. We know Xero had already put that into their particular product, so we followed suit, right, to verifying. You can either do that now. We've introduced further verifications. You can do it through a verification app. You can do it through SMS. You can do it through email, multiple things. We know how important project and tracking category suggestions are, right, especially around Xero and QBO. So we've now introduced that into the product. We've gone even further around new report formats and naming and search and filter updates around expenses. Due date extraction was another feature. And all the features that I've sort of mentioned there are only the things that we've delivered. So we've got a lot more coming in relation to the product roadmap. We're looking at data quality. We're looking at PO numbers. Again, using the AI engine, supplier statements, which is a massive one, where you've got lots of invoices on a transact, and you've got multiple invoices coming through on a supplier statement. Alerts and notifications nudging people that said, hey, look, in your app, we found these particular invoices you haven't quite processed. So that's another feature. The onboarding process, right? One of the things I always remember when I first downloaded the product, right? And I'm sure, Jeannie, you probably do a wonderful job, but training people. But wouldn't it be great if I could take it away from you and say, actually, as soon as you download the app, almost like a lot of us got iPhones. If you remember when you go through an iPhone update, how it turns around and says, you want to do this? How about skipping this particular activity? Do you want to connect to Wi-Fi? So imagine that same experience through Dext, and when you set Dext app up, that it automatically say, Jeannie, who are you? What sort of transactions are you putting through? Are you an accountant? Are you a bookkeeper? Are you connected to Xero? Then tailoring your entire experience based on the journey that you're going on and making that entire onboarding process so much more seamless. Mileage tracking. This was another cool feature.
Oh, I was excited about that.
Yeah. The great thing about mileage tracking, right? Imagine you're outgoing seeing a client, but you open up your app as soon as you get in the car, and then you go on your journey, and at the end of it, it sort of turns around and says, hey, I've just seen you've been traveling for the last 45 minutes. You've done, 50 miles. Is this a client engagement? How would you like me to build this? And automatically create an expense report just based on GPS, based on all the features that you have in your smartphone, all of
Wow.
those type of features. So there is so much of activity that the team have been going through. And those are just, what we've delivered over the last days, what we're thinking about further out. There is, quarterly product roadmaps, quarterly product updates that we do to all of the community that's out there. But yeah, look, there's a lot of exciting cool features that I'm personally excited about when I remember some of the things that people have been asking for. Last year, I remember when I joined, one of the first things I did was actually go back and look at user voice. I spent a lot of time in user voice, which is, our platform of where people can put new ideas and vote and,
Mm-hmm.
get notified once we thought about new features and functions. And I was looking back and it was like, I remember this feature that people were asking for. It was about, being able to enter multiple email addresses for one particular account and having multi accounts related to one company. And it was a feature that was being requested for like almost 8 years. And the product team sort of, sat down with them and they said, yeah, actually, it's not that difficult. We've never really been given clear direction. What are the things? So we just said, right, go back to user voice, look at what everybody's asking for. Let's
Mm.
listen to what clients and bookkeepers, and you know what? Most of the features that we delivered last year, close to 300 different features, functions, products, add-ons, those sort of things, is very much driven from advisory boards, from user voice, from user research, from beta groups, social media reviews, you name it, right? Conversations like these, right? Where you turn around and say, well,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if there's one thing I could do for you, Jeannie, and your community, what would it be? Right, do you know what? It hits the list and it goes on the special CEO list of things that I could potentially say, hey, Jeannie and her team are so important. That goes on the product roadmap. No questions asked.
Yeah, it's really meaningful. And I talked to my tribe. So I met with Sabby and, and they were all, I guess it's so meaningful because it's meaningful when someone cares, And when you and I talked, that was a big part of my history is that, yeah, I picked up Dext the minute it hit the market in Australia. And way back then, Sophie was kind of the go-to girl. And she was always listening and she was always caring and she was always supporting us to do better in business. And so when I talked to my tribe and I said, Sabi and I talked and we talked about this and we talked about that, and he really listened and they really want to help. They want to help bookkeepers, even the small ones at the beginning of their journey, to grow and to thrive. We had so many comments and it was so meaningful.
That's so wonderful to hear. And look, the core of everything that we do, and I think that's what makes us probably more unique than most organizations, is this is the single thing that we do, right? And our entire channel, our entire community is really about driving more efficiency and effectiveness, as I said, in accountants and bookkeepers, because you've got your own challenges, right? You've got your challenges around the number of individuals and people that are coming into the accounting and bookkeeping industry, right? And how
Mm,
difficult that is. So, one way of overcoming that is with technology, right? Technology
yeah.
adoption. Like you said, you went from 8 down to 3. You were able to, over time, use that efficiency that you were gaining through the use of tech and technology to
Mm,
be able to then slowly bring your organization down to a more efficient way of processing. But you would never have done that and never been able to do it if you didn't have faith in the technology and adoption and really being one of those thought leaders of thinking about, what, by doing this, this is really going to not only help me be more efficient and effective, but it's going to make so much difference to my clients. And that's what we worry
yeah.
about. You were talking about what keeps you up at night. This is the thing that keeps me up at night is, am I doing everything I can, right, to make that automation a little bit easier, putting another feature in that will make life easier? What is it that users are telling us? What are the reviews? What's my latest trust pilot? What are people saying about our product? How are we getting a more competitive advantage to make accountants and bookkeepers and ultimately small businesses more efficient in what they do? But it's the only thing I wake up every morning thinking about.
Yeah, it's fun. I could totally relate to that because when you were talking about product and the user voice, it was funny. It was one of the first days yesterday where I felt like, oh my goodness, I feel kind of caught up, where you're like, oh, I feel kind of caught up. But I'd done a session with the cohort and what I learned, like, you talk about what you learn from your users. What I learned was just so amazing. And it was probably the end of a journey of learning around some things to do with audience attraction and client attraction. And as you know, the marketing landscape is always changing. Like you talk about keep you up at night. For me, it's, am I doing everything in my power to help bookkeepers in my tribe to basically do the things that they told me they need to do? And in this case, it was generate new business, right? So whether that's from new clients or existing clients, I went back, like you talk about product development. It was like, okay, I want to redefine all the different parts of brand assets, marketing, which I heard Forbes had this most incredible terminology for that around value-based arguments, marketing being your value-based argument. I was like, oh, the heavens are opening compared to audience attraction. And then I realized through the end of it all, I've been doing some stuff on using Facebook groups to find audience and then what that looks like after you find the audience. And I've already put it in my diary to completely redo our attraction product, and it's a massive job. And the attraction product as it is awesome, but it's that, wait, how do I get that user, right? The next result. How do I heighten that result? I think, Sabby, you might relate to this too. When you put this much effort into your products, and I can hear your passion for it, and I do too. I said to my tribe, using Dext is like this. So when you're not using Dext or when you're not using a strategic bookkeeper, I said, listen, at the beginning of my bookkeeping journey, I had to summit Everest with no help, right? I had to summit that mountain and I had to keep falling down and I had to keep going, right? I said, I've given you guys a little private jet plane. And I've given you a team that is serving you hors d'oeuvres and making everything comfortable. And yeah, you're still going to have to fly to the top, but I'm going to fly you to the top in a little jet plane so you can enjoy the summit. You don't have to summit it like me all by yourself. And I think that is what, when you find these products, it's like you're finding this amazing vehicle to jump in and make it all easier, right?
No, I couldn't have put it better myself, right? It is all about, we talk about time, right? The thing I'm very passionate about is when I think of time, I think of think about all the times that you've wasted, right? Think about all the time that you wish you had back. The amount of time that you spent on all of these mundane tasks and activities, which, you look back and say, do you know what? If I had this, what would I do back with that time, right? And you gave the perfect example that sort of said, look, by lunchtime, you were looking at it and sort of saying, oh, I feel as if I'm on top of everything, right? How many people would love to be in that situation every lunchtime to say, hey, I've already caught up. Now, where can I spend the rest of the day thinking about, either how I spend that with family, friends, personal perspective, but also
on my health, right?
On your health and everything else, but also how can I go and spend time with your tribe to say, well, actually, do you know what? Let's just have a quick look at the state of your business. How are you getting on with your clients? Is there anything I can do to help you and assist you in these areas? Make some connections for you, doing everything that the strategic bookkeepers that, as a tribe and community is there to do. But isn't that where the value comes, right? For all of your tribe to be able to turn around and say, do you know what? Because I do this, I've now got the ability to spend more time with you. And that's where my value, that's really important for me.
Yeah. And time, we get time from, I say now tech is team. And I wrote a note here that the Dext software, really good software, acts like a human, but never have I seen it more than I see it with Dext, where when you talked about the AI and what's coming with Even Prepare, I mean, the most I ever noticed it was precision. When your software begins to, like when you said, the software is now going to say to you, oh, hey, we've identified that with this account, commerce could be really helpful. We get so caught up in everything we need to do, even though we are one of the most efficient bookkeeping practices in the world, right? But we still are in our square and caught up in what we need to do. So when software does that, it's acting like a human. Do you know what I mean? And to buy time, like I just recruited an amazing lady in South Africa that will buy me time, right? So tech and time, because Sabby, I'll be honest and say there was a time in my practice, it was over a decade ago, where I grew my revenue, but my profit didn't grow. Do you know what I mean? And then there was a time in my practice where I decided, almost for a challenge and fun too. So I went to fixed price billing, which is a far cry from outcome billing, which is what we do. But just that move. And as we began to get smarter around tech, I stopped worrying about my revenue and I doubled my net profit in a year without really moving my revenue. And then, as we talked about before, I reduced my team by natural attrition from 8 to 3 with the same revenue, but profitability goes up.
Yeah.
So the small but mighty blueprint, because a bookkeeper that I met the other day, and she's wonderful and she's so new and excited at the beginning of her journey, but her focus was on growth. And she had about 50 clients with what I would call a low turnover, right? And she said, what about when I get to 1,000 clients? I said, well, I'd want to vomit at 1,000 clients. I don't want 1,000 clients, right? I've been there where I've focused on growth rather than focusing on, we call it scale, but oftentimes it's like, what is everyone talking about? But the small but mighty blueprint. I recorded a podcast with Meryl Johnston from Bean Ninjas and Team Up, and she chose to go beyond the messy middle, 5 to 15 staff to 20 staff. And me knowing intimately the bookkeeping industry globally, which is 90%, I think, busy multitasking mums, we are much better served building a small but mighty practice with 5 or less staff, letting me actually help you with how you're also going to bundle and sell intellectual property, like talk about rocket things, right? And that word efficiency, it gets lost. Oh, yes, I need to be efficient. We all need to be efficient, don't we? But hang on, at work, in our practice, efficiency means saving a keystroke. Efficiency means saving a word, like less words, less keystrokes, profit goes up and up and up. Impact goes up and up and up. And oftentimes the impact that we're having on people goes up with the profit, because bookkeepers always want to be about the impact. I'm all about the impact. Yeah. But Sabby, I tell them it's linear. We need to build a thriving practice, delight our clients, and then we get the privilege of our dream on our terms. But if we can't build the thriving practice, if our practice is quietly in the background suffocating because the profit and the cash isn't there, right? That's oxygen. You're not going to delight anyone. You're not going to have the oxygen. You'll be dying, unable to get up and serve anyone. And so I have learned absolutely that when we put ourselves first and build the thriving practice with lots of profit and cash, that's how we show up and serve everyone and delight everyone. And only then do you ever get the privilege of the income and lifestyle that you went into it for in the first place, right?
Yeah, and that's one thing is fundamental that everybody forgets about, which is, why did I originally do this, right? Take a step back, think about it, and sort of say, well, I did this because, I wanted a slightly different lifestyle. I had this spare time. What could I do with it? I've got to balance all of these different activities, whether it's home life or personal and family and everything else. And then all of a sudden you get in this rut of, now I've got another deadline. Now I've got this, and I've got to process all these transactions before tomorrow. And I've got to, you hear all of these nightmare stories of people. And it's like, the question I would always go back to people and say, look, take a step back. Can you always remember why you did what you did? Right. And how do we get you back to that point? Because that's what motivated you, right? That was the point at which you had this great idea and you had this lifestyle that you were expecting. Let's go back to that and help you on how we go about, and I think what you were sort of talking about, sustainable growth, right?
Sustainable growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, sustainable growth. Absolutely. Sabby, I do that all the time. And my old neighbor, who's also a client and a business buddy, she would come over and she would be distressed, and she works in the health space. And the same thing I would say, so, sweetie, what do you want? And she'd go, I don't know. And I go, well, we're in real trouble then. Yeah. You know what I mean? We're running, but we don't know where we're going. And she would always say, oh, you always want to play the why game, don't you? Interesting in that case, and in many cases in business. So we actually walked her down a road where she, again, in some ways in natural attrition, she went from managing a team to no team. She's Australia's best behaviour therapist for autistic kids, back to just working by herself. She was earning more income. She went back to being able to work, 4 days a week between school hours, being the mum that she wanted to be and being happy. And it's different for everyone, isn't it? Like Meryl said, don't let anyone tell you what is, like, if you want 20 staff and something in the pit of your stomach, your dharma says, my purpose in life is to do this, then go for it and I'll be there supporting you. But yeah, like you say, we see, almost 80% of people will tell me, I'm so busy and I'm working all the time. Why isn't it all working out? And they're not. I've always, always, always been crystal clear on what I'm working for. And I think that's why 5 years in, I got there. It was always time wealth. I want a six-figure profit that is like, okay, yeah, I can put food on the table. I can do what I want. Yeah, I'm happy. But the time. And I find for most bookkeepers, I can only speak for bookkeepers in the Strategic Bookkeeper, they want the time and the money to be able to prioritize what's important to them. And that is generally their family and their health more than anything. Yeah, when you get yourself right physically, mentally, spiritually, you show up as your best self for your family and you're alive, which is always handy. Because mums, we work out, right? Little boy says, if you're dead, mum, you can't help me. And I'm like, it's morbid. But sometimes it's the punch in the face that we need, right? So yeah, my bookkeepers all really relate to the healthy bookkeeper. So, oh my goodness, this has been amazing. And I do want to say something I'm really passionate about. I said to my bookkeeper, I feel like because of my brand history with Dext will always be close to my heart, is that together I really want Dext and the Strategic Bookkeeper to help bookkeepers do better in business. And it's through the product, and it's also through, we're going to continue to show up with Dext to give you, at the moment, we've got quarterly like mastermind trainings that are going to be available, but we will be showing up with Dext regularly to make sure we keep giving you the things that Dext gave me 10 years ago. They put me, back then it was, much more face-to-face. So I went to luncheons and I went to events and I was in front of thought leaders who redirected me in the direction of success. And I learned to, whatever Sophie said, I should listen and I should do, because she was always a step ahead of me, right? I want us to really make sure that we're doing that and supporting bookkeepers in that way. I'm really excited about that.
Perfect. And look, Jeannie, my offer to you and to your tribe and everybody else is, look me up on LinkedIn, do anything that you can, right? Make connections directly to me and the rest of the organization. Ultimately, as I said, I wake up every morning thinking about people like you and your tribe and the rest of the organization, thinking, what's that one thing I could do today that will make a difference, right? For that individual, for that organization, for that accountant, for that bookkeeper. And the only way I'm going to be able to answer that question is if people tell me and I listen, rather than believe that I have the answer and this is what you need and this is how you use it. It's like, guys, I don't know. Right? I don't live and breathe the accounting bookkeeper space every single day, and the way that you engage and the way you interact. So yeah, look, I'm extremely passionate about this space and I love being part of it and being an overall part of that community. But we do need help, right? We're here to listen, right? We're here for you.
Yeah, and they're telling me, I said to one of them the other day, can you send me an audio clip of what you said about Dex? Send it to my email. I'll make sure they get it. And I say this to my tribe, if you don't open your mouth and tell me, open hearts and open minds, I can't act. And it's through, Sabby, you'll relate to, sometimes it's 6 months of listening to a common theme. And then it's like you see the matrix and you can take the action needed. And that's how I came up with the Small But Mighty Blueprint. I kept listening to bookkeepers tell me about their revenue. And I thought, I've been there. What if I look under the hood?
And Jeannie, my wife and my daughter always tell me, Dad, there's a reason why you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? You should be listening twice as much as you're talking. And sometimes it's like, yeah, they're probably the only ones who can probably tell me that, right? But yeah, no, it's so important. Just listening to what people are telling you before you even try and attempt to speak.
I think become like leaning into the business strategy I've done the last 5 or so years with entrepreneurs and now bookkeepers, you've got to be 100% mindful, right? You've got to turn up 100% present and listen. But I think in the Strategic Bookkeeper, never have I listened like I listen now. It's amazing. I'm definitely a talker. I'm an I personality, social personality. Sabby Gill, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was awesome.
My pleasure. And I love these sort of interactions, engagements, and I look forward to being invited back in the future.
Yes, and we'll have a tribe member on soon to talk about the product as well. Okay, my friend, now it is time to take action. So What are you going to do with what you learned today? The way I see it, you've got two options. You can go it alone to try and save some money, or you can back yourself and go for it and join my tribe. And let me tell you, we are knocking it out of the ballpark. That's not a sales pitch. That is me serving you, dare I say, courageously. To find success, I 100% know you need the mechanics, which is like the keys to the kingdom, but you also need to get your mindset right and be super productive. And these are all things I help you with inside the program. I could go on about this forever because I really want this for you. Have a prosperous week, and I'll see you in the next episode.